Hi, folks. Welcome to The Creative Nomad, presented by TrueAwesomeLife.com. I'm your host, JP Adkins, and I created this podcast because I want to tell the stories of the radicals, the ones who are out there making the world a better, more beautiful place. The amazing authors, artists, musicians, thought leaders, coaches, and yes, nomads who are out there living their true awesome lives and want to help others do the same. Are you ready to live your true awesome life? Go to TrueAwesomeLife.com and start your journey today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Creative Nomad. I'm so glad to be back. It feels like it's been forever. I know it's only been a week, but it feels like a month, I swear. This week was so crazy. I am here today with the beautiful and talented, amazing Christine Miura. She is a good friend and former client, amazing person. She is my Ayurvedic specialist. I mean, she's just such an amazing person. I'll let her introduce herself, though, because I won't ever do it justice. So, Christine, tell people about you.
Hi there. Thanks, Jeff. It's so an honor to be here and chatting with you today. About myself. Well, I actually didn't know it, but finally got it that I was an intuitive. And I have been studying Ayurveda since the age of 23. So that's a number of decades now. And have really applied it to my life as of lately, just because I am in my 50s and, my body now needs extra attention. So it's been great that I've been studying and learning and understanding because there's just so much to know, right? It's a very complex, complicated system. And I think you have to have health challenges to really apply everything that you read. Because if you're healthy, well, you're just healthy.
It's so true. It's so true. So last month, you had recommended to me years ago that I pick up Ayurveda for dummies, and just just practice. We had a conversation. We're kind of talking about it, and my doshas were off, and as part of the Orange Dragonfly thing, I know that I want to bring that into the Orange Dragonfly and, how to use food and timing and all of that into that whole system. So I was like, okay, so if this is what I want my people to do, how can I do it for a month? So during that month, I ended up getting meningitis. I was in the hospital and everything. So part of that was, I went into the hospital and was on antibiotics and antivirals and all that kind of good stuff. But I could tell you that just living that month, and I didn't go complete Ayurvedic because I realized the recipes I was finding I didn't love, right? So I went Mediterranean, with an Ayurvedic bend, right?
Yeah.
So thinking Ayurvedically, but going more Mediterranean because I like meat, and I could find things that I understood looking through what I was looking through, right? And after that month, I went out for my best friend's birthday, and I had 2 beers and was plaster trashed.
And didn't feel so good, right?
No,
assumed them.
no, it was crazy, and I was laughing about it. And I know that, with you here, I wanted to talk about that because it was such a insane time. Guys, I'm not a big drinker anyways. I'm not someone that's out partying every night, but I can have a couple beers without having, I have enough tolerance to have a couple beers without getting,
Well, I think the framing is that you used to have tolerance.
Yes.
Because when you polluted your body, when you put substances in your body that aren't good for you, you don't feel it because you're not as sensitive.
Right.
But because you ate more cleanly and you were more conscientious about what you were ingesting, when you drank those beers that vibrate at a lower frequency, it really kicked your butt because you were eating high frequency foods. And what I mean by that is, if you think of everything in energy, like we all know that it is, when you're eating low vibrational food, you're usually eating food that's not good for you, that's not easily absorbed, that takes the digestive system a long time to break down. And, there's probably oils and lots of fat in them, and it really taxes the digestive system to break it down, emulsify it, get whatever nutrients and then push the waste out. Well, if you think about oil in general and you understand what it does, like in your car, how it gets all gummy and tacky, and then over time it evolves into hard, sticky, and then it gets stuck. Well, when you're eating those kinds of things in your body, that too happens. So it might not happen in your 20s, and it might not happen in your 30s. It starts showing up in your 40s, and then in your 50s, depending on how unclean you ate,
Mm-hmm.
your 50s, you start having issues with your tissues. Because, like your car, you go in and get the filter change and you take out all the gunk. Well, if you're not thinking about that in some way as you enter the fifth decade of your life, you start having issues. You start having disease in your body because it's chronically inflamed. It's got that sticky, hard, stuck stuff, and your body no longer has the ability to really break everything down that you're eating and to grab all the good nutrients because the filters in your body are stuck.
Yeah.
So when you eat clean just for 30 days, you give your body the opportunity to rest and not have to fight to digest, but it actually gets to eat, and it's more easily assimilated. And most likely it's high vibrational food, meaning that it's, vegetables, it's, a little bit of fruit, you're drinking clean water, you're drinking herbal teas, whatever that is. So your body has the ability to rest, clear out some of those toxins, even though you might not be able to feel it, but you might see it. Your inflammation in your face might go down, your edema in your body might lessen. And then you go and pollute yourself with some alcohol. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to get snockered.
It was hilarious. It was well, I fell asleep at the bar. I was with friends, and I ended up falling asleep at the bar. I was throwing up the whole way home. It was not like I looked like a bridesmaid. Like
Did you
and
get your sugars tested? Because
what?
your sugars
Yeah.
for diabetes, because
Mhm.
that's a symptom of that's a body's expression of like way too much sugar too fast. I can't digest it. Oh, crash.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting, and I did get my sugars tested, but it was just really interesting living that way and how much better I felt, even on Mountain Dew. So Mountain Dew, I've been a
12
Mountain Dew guy,
tablespoons of sugar.
right? 12. So, and they had a new one, and I always tried the new ones, and I had literally like 3 drinks of it, and I was like, okay, I can't. I felt the blood pressure, I felt the whole thing happen, and
Yeah.
you don't realize how much of this stuff that you do unless you really take that time to like really
Well,
clean out.
when you're young,
Yeah.
20s, 30s, maybe early 40s, your body has the ability, most bodies have the ability to be able to manage that. But
Hmm.
again, that description I just gave you about food and
Yeah.
toxins and, your filters being clogged. So when you get to your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, yeah, you can only have like a sip. Because
Hmm.
remember, is it 12 or 24 tablespoons of
It's
sugar?
the amounts of sugar, and I know that, like, and I don't. In general, I don't drink a lot of pop, anyways. I'm not, I'm
Oh,
not.
and I am so not here to scold you. I'm just
No,
giving you the background
no.
on,
Yeah,
what's being what your body's being accosted with, right?
right, right. And and I'm not, and I'm not perfect by any means. I have ice cream almost every freaking night. So, but in general, and I have fallen off of the Mediterranean diet so much, out of laziness, really.
So I was
I got
reading a
lazy.
book that I had been attracted to online, and I didn't know. Someone had mentioned this doctor, and she had recommended a different book, and I saw that book, and I was like, oh. But I saw this other book. I think it's called Conscious Living Diet by Gabriel Cousins or something,
Okay.
at Dr. Gabriel Cousins. And I kept looking at that book going, oh, why am I so attracted to that book energetically? So I
Hmm.
got it, and I'm reading it, and it gives you all the background on the energies of food and why you eat things and why you don't, and things you give up and what happens over time. And I open, and there's a section about a third of the book, and it's all about Ayurveda. and eating to your dosha.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's why I was attracted to the book. Like, not even realizing it was in there.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one few pages where it talks about the kinds of diets. So it's called um, tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. So that's also described in your for your mind, your psychology. Tamasic is really 3D, on this plane. It's a survival way of eating. It's usually low vibrational foods,
Mm-hmm.
mostly the American, modern American diet. Rajasic are foods that you might be eating the modern American diet, but you're also aware that eating vegetables is really good for you. And if you think about the vibration, tamasic is low, rajasic is sort of up, and sattvic is for our living foods, our foods that have a high vibration. Those are vegetables and some fruits, and you're staying away from animal protein, maybe eating more plant protein, and you're drinking lots of unsweetened beverages, herbal teas, water, stuff like that. And when you think about that, it really is a vibrational issue. When you're eating that sattvic diet, it's high vibration. And for those of us who are of, healing nature, or of meditative mind, or, lead the world in kindness and love, that makes sense when you think about the food you're eating. But vibrationally speaking, it is the cleanest way to eat. So, we all have how do you want to say? We all have resistance to eating those good foods for whatever reason. But after I read those pages, I was like, oh, I can totally reposition. I no longer have to think of, oh, I'm giving up my french fries, or I can't eat my potato chips, or I really want that hamburger. Because when I think about it on a vibrational basis, it doesn't really match me. And then when I eat it, I don't feel so great anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's a transition over time of like stepping into the lifestyle of Ayurveda. But if you actually think of your food in that way, when you're consciously eating your food and seeing how it lands in the body, and you take those subtle hints of, oh, I have a little indigestion, that really hurts my belly, um, it will redirect your desire to what you put in your body. And it's not about I can't have it.
Mm-hmm.
They say that, but it's just more of like vibrationally speaking, what's going to nourish you. And I just thought that was such an amazing gift to
Yeah.
me, to read that and go, yeah. And now I just really search out, oh, a little arugula, a little Swiss chard. Oh, spinach seems a little boring these days, but I'm looking for vegetables, and I find that when I'm not eating enough vegetables, my body's really craving them because of the vibration.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that if I go for a couple days, even now, like I said, I went for a month. I reset my body. It was beautiful, and then I kind of fell off because, well, I'm not only falling off. I just chose different foods, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not beating myself up about it, and I can tell the difference in my body now, how I feel, how
Yeah.
you know, and I've been having back issues, so I've been going to a physical therapist over it. And when I was on the diet, the workouts weren't so horrible at the end. Now and that on the other side of that is they did add a couple things, but now I feel very inflamed, and I feel inflamed longer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that you have to maybe switch your thinking about being on the diet and off the diet. Right. That's why I wanted to give you the energetic frequency
Yeah.
side of it. And you just choose. Like, your body has the ability. It's such an amazing biomechanical apparatus, because the thing about your body is that it can adapt so quickly. And when you're giving it nourishing, healing foods and herbs and vegetables, it just eats all that energy up. And
Yeah.
so, okay, so you fell off for a variety of reasons, but one of them is so that you have a deeper awareness. Oh, I am inflamed. Oh, that does take longer to heal. Oh, that's not, you know, oh,
Yeah,
my belly hurts. Oh, I can't eliminate, just all those kinds of things you now have an awakening to. And
yeah,
that's all Ayurveda is. It's really, a framework, a benchmark for you to for them to say, okay, here's this is the pure form, this is the good stuff. Here it is. This is what nature can give you.
hmm,
And then you just get to decide, do you want to live inside man-made construct of food and eating, or do you want to eat in alignment with nature and everything it gives you?
yeah. One of the things that Ayurvedic talks about that I find interesting and fascinating and difficult on a personal level, right, is their time blocks. Like
Yeah, yeah. Oh, for your body to
for your
regenerate.
body to
Yeah.
regenerate. And so, maybe I'm just, how much do you believe that fits in, and how can we maybe reframe our thought process around that? You know?
Well, it's proven that your body, different organs in your body, in Chinese medicine, it's called meridian chi energy, and in Ayurveda, it's related specifically to an organ. So systems are corollary, and Chinese medicine is a derivative of the original, which is Ayurveda, because Ayurveda is the oldest healthcare system on the planet. It's 5,000 years old for you that don't know about it, and um, it's actually shown in your pulses. So it in your pulse, it will reveal where it reveals your doshas. It reveals the vitality of your organs. It tells them uh, your spiritual nature. It tells them so much because there's 7 layers and 4 fingers, and each finger has 5 segments. So a highly astute Ayurvedic pulse practitioner, doctor mainly, can tell so much about you as a human. Tell you things about yourself that you don't even realize, or maybe you did and you just never knew why.
Yeah.
So, as far as the rejuvenation of your organs by the clock. So let's say every night you go to bed and you wake up at 2 o'clock and you stay up till 5 o'clock. You just cannot go to bed. If you told that to a practitioner, they would say there was something wrong with your liver. So they would check your pulses and find out what your liver is telling them. Um, the premise is that when you're sleeping through those time periods, those organs are being regenerated, because in Ayurveda and in Chinese medicine, sleep is the rejuvenator. So if you are being very young, sorry, using a Chinese term, you are not resting. Your organ is not getting the energetic, beneficial relaxation that it needs to keep itself healthy. And for a Chinese doctor or an Ayurvedic practitioner, that would tell them, hey, there's something going on there. Maybe you need to check it out. Um, I'm not sure that answered your original question, which was, how do you adopt it? But it's more that your body naturally knows. And when you are having you're awake, you can't sleep, you have insomnia, you tend to be like super cranky, or you're telling all these symptoms, then they can actually go in and see what's going on with those organs, and to see if there's a disruption in the chi, or there might be a pattern within that organ's pattern that they need to look at. So everything in Ayurveda and Chinese medicine is an expression of your body being out of balance in the way that it normally operates. And they will go in and fix, we call that systemically, the issue, as opposed to Western medicine, where many times they give you something that's, from the symptom to
Yeah.
try and mask the symptom. But in those practices of Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine, they can actually go to the root of the issue. And it might just be as simple as ingesting an herb that you need,
Hmm.
or taking a whiff of aromatherapy of a certain flower or essence.
Yeah, I think I do find it fascinating, and I do know that for me, um, the more I am conscious of it, of how my body, what my body is telling me, and being conscious of, okay, so my body is telling me this, so how do I, what does it say for me to that I'm having a level of, right?
Right.
Something's off, and I'm tridoshic, guys, so it's weird. So I just have to keep everything balanced, which is kind of like spinning plates to me in my head.
Right.
So,
Well, and I think the other thing too, being tridoshic, you have to figure out where you live,
mhm,
what season it is, because it will exacerbate those doshas that are sensitive at that time of season.
mhm.
So
So
you so you are more complicated than most people.
yeah, it's just fun. It's fun to play. It's fun to play, and I notice when it's summertime, so my kapha is like screaming because they're not getting enough rest because I'm in the sun, and um, and it's like, okay, so I need to relax a little bit more. I have to consciously you know think about those things, and it's
Well,
and I'm always very.
the main thing for you, where are you in the southeast?
I am now back in the Midwest.
Okay, so
So I'm
but
back in the.
it's like stinking hot right now for you,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So what you really need to focus on is your pitta, because you're in the height of pitta season. It's summer, it's hot,
Hmm.
and your digestion is probably running really hot metabolically. And sun tends to get a pitta sort of melty, and not really feeling like you want to do anything, and you get a little bit angry. You have that edge to you.
Yeah.
So you need to be eating things that are cooling, which would actually help your kapha, because kaphas, in the heat, they tend to get really lethargic, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
I got
yeah.
it.
So I would focus on eating a pitta and a kapha pacifying diets,
Okay.
just to give you. So I would just want to jump back for those people who don't know about Ayurveda. Just, Ayurveda is 5,000 years old. It's the oldest healthcare system on the planet. And what's really great about it is it actually can identify how you vibrate on the planet, meaning how your nervous system expresses itself. And you can take your pulse from an Ayurvedic practitioner, or take a test, which is how we know that Jeff is tridoshic. And once you understand what your doshas are, then you get all the gifts from Earth that help you stay in balance or help you be optimal as you can. Because when we don't have these keys to our eating and our living and our way of expressing ourselves, we are probably a little confused, not very confident in what we're doing, and leading blindly around going, oh, I don't know why I feel like this. Oh, this is upset and that's upset, or that person really pissed me off. So Ayurveda gives you the template for you to practice and make your life easier. And that's why I do dosha readings, and also can explain things to you that you probably have always chosen to do or have a preference to do and never really understood why. In reading your doshas, we can explain that to you, and then you get more keys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been, when I have focused on it, it has been useful, and when I don't focus on it and I kind of just go off, I realize it probably 6 months later in my practice. Like I'll notice 6 months later, wait, everything's off. I know
Yeah,
everything's off. Like,
yeah,
and I'm like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then all of a sudden, in my life, Christine just pops up she'll pop up in the feed. Hey, how you doing? Just out of curiosity.
yeah.
like,
That's
like
that's usually how it rolls with us.
yeah, it's like, oh, okay, hi, I haven't talked to you in like 3 months. Okay, no big deal. Hey, and you're off. I saw your video of you, and you need to grab a rock. She's actually told me
Well,
that.
maybe not that extreme, but
Yeah, but it's just having an Ayurvedic practitioner um, is extremely. I find it extremely helpful and extremely important. and just understanding how that may flow through you, right? How that energy flows through you is invaluable.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Pitta Kapha, and I knew what that was. And of course, Pittas are always all about, of course I'm like that. Of course it's like this. Of course, of course, of course. Because, in America, the characteristics of being a Pitta are very well embraced.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I am now, as, last handful of years, that I really appreciate being Kapha, because it is the side of me that's kind, loving, supportive, compassionate, and I do have a deep sense of caring for others. Where if I was just straight Pitta, I'd just be an asshole. Literally just get out of my way. I'm getting here, and you're just a driver, and you're overly ambitious, and you're off-putting, and you tend to dismiss people when you're out of balance. But in America, those are welcome traits. So I
Yeah.
much rather be Asian in my culture.
I totally understand that. And it's the more I study, the more I find how culture is um, studying my spirituality, studying my Ayurvedic practice, studying all of it. I realize how much American culture just devalues everything that I find true.
Well, I think it's really interesting that the time that we live right now and everything that's going on in the world with the 1/6 Commission. Like, we as Americans now get to make a choice of, is greed, corruption, defilement, anger, all of that. If that's really good, being an autocratic, government, are we going to be that, or are we going to find the goodness and the kindness and the generosity and the extension of doing the right thing and helping others? Like, that's really what's up for us in our society.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we don't allow the cancer of the orange one to continue in our society. He needs to be put to rest and out to pasture, and we need to regain the characteristics of FDR, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I think that it's our presidents are just a mirror of the culture. Um,
And it's
even
an unfortunate one now. Like,
yeah,
I have never been fearful of living in America as a woman of color, short in stature, being Asian. Never even crossed my mind. And the other day, I got pulled over by a CHP because my tags were expired, and I literally was shaking. And I said to him, I'm really nervous and scared." And he's like, "Why?" And I said, "Because everything on the news." I'm like, "It's not." And he was like the friendliest,
mhm.
nicest, CHP. And he goes, runs, my stuff, comes back, gives me a fix a ticket. And he said, "Hey, I just want you to know that I have a whole office full of people just like me." you know had I been black, I don't know, maybe it might have been a different thing, but I literally, after I left him, I still was shaking for like a good 20 minutes after, just because of everything that's happened. And in my whole entire life, I've never felt that. But as soon as
Yeah.
the orange one got elected, the very day of, I remember speaking out about my fear of my safety, because there were people being attacked in Oakland. And I had 3 white people tell me to calm down, that I was just feeding the hysteria, and he had no direct impact on my life, and I beg to disagree.
Yeah. Words. What is going in your ears matters on both sides. And by the way, it's on both sides. It's not just him. And he's bad. Don't get me, I am not support. I am not a Trump supporter. As I go through this, I'm also not a Biden supporter. I think that when he got on the stage, I was like, "Why the hell are you here? You're not the answer. You're rolling them out of mothballs. And why are you here?" And it was because it was the lowest common denominator. And unfortunately, in America right now, that is
I don't know. The man has, decades and decades of experience being in government, was the vice president. I mean, we were so swung off to the right side of the pendulum. You know, out of all the people that were there, he probably has had the most experience and knowledge just to bring us back to level.
Yeah,
And people are expecting some kind of miracle from his administration. He walked in the middle of a pandemic that that orange one was using as a political hockey ball to say, oh, you can have some vaccine but you can't. I mean,
I mean, I get where he came in at, and I get that. I'm not saying that he's a horrible person and he was totally unqualified in any way. I just don't think he was the right answer for right then.
Well, I think that there was no answer.
And that might be true.
The orange one, if he was reelected, just think about where we would be right now. That's what I think about. Like, if he had gotten reelected, oh my God, I probably would have packed all my stuff off and left to become, a Thai or a Bali resident. I can't even imagine if he gets reelected. And the level of what the Republican Party is willing to do to ingratiate themselves and never be out of power. If you want to think about a terrible government like Russia, just think about reelecting him and his cronies, and we will live in a government like Russia.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep. So anyway, back to Ayurveda. What other questions do you have for me?
I love it. It's funny because see, I think that a lot of times we're really afraid as practitioners and spiritual people, and that to even talk about things that may matter to us. And I appreciate your authenticity and your candor about that. It's one of the things I admire about you, is that you're not afraid to talk about what's going on.
Truth has a vibration in our lives.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And when we don't speak truth and we aren't enacting our truth, what brings our reality to ourselves, we can't show up.
Right.
The vibration of who you be when you're withholding information that you need to speak into the world, then you become that fearful, withholding person. Mm-hmm. And my astrological chart, I was born in the time of justice and truth of Martin Luther King, JFK, RFK. Yeah. I am a child from the stars at that time, literally born January 1st of 1964.
Wow.
So I had somebody that read my chart and said, justice is a big part of who you are. Doing the right thing is a big, you are a truth speaker. And I'm like, that's so true. Because I was born at the time of social justice.
Right.
Which is why, the overturn of Roe versus Wade is like so utterly ridiculous to me.
I can't think of any. I have been around people that that have opposing views, is what I'm going to say, and enough to understand that there needed to be a change, and this wasn't it.
Yeah, well, the change is when your religion, when your views tell me as a woman that if I have had incest or rape forced on me, that I need to birth that child because of your ideological perspective. I don't know. Like, we live in America. We used to value our ability to be individuals and make choices. Mm-hmm. I am a product of the Women's Rights Reproductive Act since 1972, I think it was. So it's been a part of my living. Right. And just to say to all the women in the United States now that, you can't, you're forced, you're a criminal if you go across state lines. If you are pregnant and you're not pregnant, you will be prosecuted. We are now chattel.
Yeah.
We are no longer, contributing spiritual, radiant beings that are moving our society forward. We have now just become vehicles for men to birth children that they never take responsibility for. I'm speaking in rape and incest, not speaking in creating children. But, it affects my sons. Both my kids are in their 20s. And if they got some girl pregnant, now they have this whole thing about raising a child for the next 20 something odd years. That's how women got men married to them,
Hmm.
just because there was this whole religious organizational thing about you should be married, but
Yeah.
but outside of that part, just the fact that a woman has to have a child if she's been raped or has had incest, to me, is unthinkable. It's
It-
unconscionable. And listening to these geriatric governors tell me why they need to have those kids, I just
yeah.
want to scream every time.
Yeah. I mean, I am pro-choice. I am pro-truth. I am, and I need to, and I also understand that there was. So I had friends that actually knew people that had 14 abortions
Oh, use it as birth control.
using it
Yeah.
as birth control.
Yeah, that's wrong.
So, what I mean? So hearing both, there had to be there. I believe personally, I believe there had to have been some kind of in between, right?
Well,
That you need to be able to make those choices, and you have to possibly, if you've had more than one, what I mean, have
well, at
maybe some
14,
counseling,
at 14, maybe,
right?
at number 5, you get sterilized.
Right, or a conversation, or at least after the second one, hey, let's get you some counseling to see what's going on. Not necessarily, you can't do this, but let's look at what the deeper issue is.
Well, I think that the major issue I have, is that forcing people to have children and then not having any kind of safety net or system where those children can be born into and be supported.
Yeah,
I mean, just the issue of you can't have an abortion. Well, what happens when that baby's born? I don't
right.
see the Republicans running over there to, have foster children or adoption. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Like I said, it wasn't. This was not the answer, and there needed to be
no.
something else in place. You know what I mean? Like there needed to be some kind of. I think that some kind of counseling. Like clearly, after your first one, okay,
Look, first of all, anybody that's having an abortion that doesn't think about what that act just did shouldn't be a parent.
right.
It should not be a parent.
I got that.
So it's a self what do you want to say?
and and this is not the my thing is it's not the norm.
No,
Okay,
it's not the norm. But I
it's
mean, if
not
you're having an abortion as a woman, being a woman, having 2 children,
right,
if that doesn't weigh heavily on you, you should not be a parent.
right.
Women do not make, maybe that person with 14 abortions is an exception, but we
Mhm.
don't know her history. We don't know if she was molested, if she was raped, if she was, brutally being put in bad situations. We don't know
Mhm.
that. But most women who have an abortion do not make that decision lightly, and
Right.
they do not take it lightly, because when you are the carrier, the facilitator, bringing another life into the world, it's such a gift. It's such a beautiful experience as a woman to be able to carry that baby, to feel that baby grow inside of you, to have that baby kick you in the belly, and then birthing, of course, is traumatic, but then you get the package. So, I just feel that the Supreme Court didn't make that decision based on anything rational, and they
Right.
did it from a political perspective. And the fact that there are other rights that are coming up for scrutiny and
Yeah.
possibly being overturned makes our society very antiquated.
Yeah. And as I said, so I want to reiterate, I am not condoning what happened, right? And I can understand how people could feel like that something needed to happen. Does that make
Like
sense?
I said,
Yeah.
your ideas, your religious perspective, you want to do what you want to do for your body. That's your choice.
Your choice.
But please don't
Exactly.
inflict it on the the entire race of women because you have some religious perspective. I respect that, but you don't get to decide if that poor little girl at 10 years old that got raped should birth that child.
Very true. And in
So
that state, isn't she? I don't know what is actually happening with her. I know that she's the poster child right now.
well, she had the
But
abortion, and now
did
they're
she?
trying to persecute the doctor that gave her the legal abortion. Because that's the thing with Trump's people. It's that, hey, you don't believe the way that we believe, we're gonna run you down. We're gonna bully you. We're gonna harass you. We're gonna scare you because you don't believe what we believe. So again,
Yeah.
going back to a more positive perspective, I really appreciate you having me on today. And I think we've used our time.
We have, and I love you. We actually went 10 minutes over, but I thought that it was an important conversation to have.
Well, thanks for letting me speak it, because it's just been inside of me, and I haven't really shared that with anyone.
Yeah.
So now I've just shared it with the world. So thank you.
And I love you. Okay, so Christine is, we're in talks right now for her to be at the Orange Dragonfly event in January. So, you guys might see her more. And guys, go and check out her website. It's amazing. She is one of the best people I know in general. She's like really one of the people that I turn to when I am unbalanced. So thank you so much.
I totally welcome anybody who wants to reach out. You can find me on Facebook, Christine Miura, or you can find me on Instagram. But so not only with Ayurveda, but as an intuitive. So you have some one-offs, you have some questions, you have some confusion, you need some clarity, or you just need somebody to deeply listen to what's happening for you in your life and needing some guidance. I am so happy to be that facilitator for you.
I love it.
So thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Christine, and you have fun. Good luck on the new deck.
Thank you. I'll take a picture and send it to you when it finally gets done after a 4 or 5 month delay. So thank you so much.
I can't even imagine. All right, guys, you guys check her out and know that and check out orangedragonflycenter.com and know that you guys are loved. I will see you all next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Creative Nomad Show. If you have any questions about this or any other episode, go to creativenomadshow.com. There's also a link at the bottom. If you are a radical and would like to be a guest, you can apply to be on the show there. Thanks again, and know that you are loved. Awesome Life, we look for the world changers who want to live in creativity, authenticity, and profitability whenever, wherever. So check out trueawesomelife.com and let's get started.